the new My Lowe's Pro Rewards American Express card, earn 3 points per dollar spent on Lowe's qualifying purchases for the first 6 months after card account opening. Plus, save 5% every day on eligible purchases at Lowe's and earn points on eligible purchases everywhere else Amex is accepted. Card members get more at Lowe's. Subject to credit approval. 5% can't be combined with any other offer. Exclusions and restrictions apply. Points subject to loyalty terms at Lowes.com/terms and credit reward terms at Synchrony.com/MLPRA-terms. Visit Lowes.com/business credit.
Welcome to the Awakening Women Show. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, a former counselor with a background in counseling psychology. I'm a mentor for high-achieving, ambitious women with over 13 years in the mental health and empowerment space. I've guided hundreds of women and have influenced over 100,000 through my platforms, podcast, and other courses, programs, and mentorship. I'm also the creator of the Relationship Clarity program, formerly known as End the Cycle, which you will hear me mention a lot of times as we go through the episodes. This program is to help women break free from destructive relationship cycles and come to clarity and power about their next step. This show is for the woman who knows her relationship struggles go deeper than the usual conflict. You know there's something more going on, but you can't quite nail it down or pinpoint what that is. You'll find clarity here, empowerment, truth, and validation. Clarity on whether your relationship can be healed or whether it's time to reclaim your life and move forward. What started as me sharing my own experiences quickly became a movement because the truth is, so many ambitious, successful women are stuck in confusing and draining relationship dynamics while trying to rise in every other area of their life, career, motherhood. This is you, you're not alone, and you don't have to keep living this way. Inside this podcast, you'll hear some of my most downloaded episodes, plus fresh content designed to help you break patterns, reclaim your wholeness, and decide once and for all if this relationship is where you belong. I'm so glad you found this space. Let's dive in. Welcome to this episode of the Awakening Women podcast. I want to talk to you in this episode about triggers, emotional, psychological triggers, and why they are actually the portal, the doorway to your most radical awakening and growth possible. Because the reason why we get triggered in the first place is because there is something that is being touched on that is actually from the past. And when we choose to use those times when we feel lit up, emotionally activated, like we're losing our shit, or we're kind of blanking out and not remembering like why we blew up or why we're blowing up, or things in the moment seem much bigger than they actually are. And you sometimes realize that in hindsight, that you look back and realize you really did like actually lose your shit in that moment, and you can see where maybe you could have had a different response. This is what I'm talking about, is when we're becoming conscious and we're awakening, we start to learn that the only place that we are triggered actually is within ourselves. It's never about what's happening externally. And I remember when I was first introduced to this concept, I was like, yeah, right. Like you're living with some asshole that's triggering you all the time and you're supposed to just not react and not blow up. Well, the truth is that we get to choose how we respond to everything, every single thing. You could have someone walking through your house with muddy shoes and you could either lose your shit, kick them out. You have any number of reactions, or you can deal with it from a calm, grounded place of standing up for yourself, assertiveness, and boundaries. You may not come in my house with shoes like that. Here's the broom to clean up your mess. We get to choose how triggered we are by what people do externally. And this is good news. This is why when I work with women, we look at emotional triggers as a signal, a sign that something from your inner child is being activated in the now. So we can do this work by recognizing and cleaning up our reactions to triggers. So when it comes to these triggers, it's typically happening in our most intimate relationships, most often, usually a parenting or a partner situation. So our kids can quote unquote trigger us or cause us to trigger ourselves the most, as well as our intimate partners. And we have to be able to look within to find out where this is and how to be conscious and be awake and be authentic to be able to know what is actually behind that. And that is the emotional self-mastery work I do with my women in my collective. And if I work one-on-one with women, because we look at triggers as an opportunity for deeper awakening, for expanding into a higher level of consciousness. Like when I actually think about the last time I was actually like really triggered and lost my mind it's been a very long time. It has been a very long time. And, a lot of things have changed, but there was a time when I constantly felt like I was losing it over this and that and the other thing. It was always something else someone else was doing. And I believed that was the cause of my upset or my feeling of instability or annoyance or anger, that it was other people causing that, whether it be kids or my partner or someone on the road or whatever. So there's a difference between just being annoyed and not liking something. Like, it's not we're allowed to have emotions. We can see something online that's like immediately annoying. It doesn't mean we're triggered. We're triggered when we're typing out nonsense. You see people typing silly stuff in comments that you're like, wow, like, did you really just post that online? Like, really? And there is just, you can feel something and be annoyed and not actually react to it. That's what I'm talking about. So you're allowing yourself to feel, well, that's actually annoying. I find that person annoying. I find that what they're doing annoying. If it's like doing a dance on Instagram or something, like that's annoying. I'm like, it just annoys me. I'm like, wow, I'm annoyed. I find that really irritating. I would not ever want to dance and record myself dancing. It's just like, why on earth would I ever do that? But I'm not triggered because I'm not commenting and saying silly things in the comments. So this is an example, right? It's like that person that's dancing and doing some kind of silly thing, or they're posting themselves making out with their partner on and putting it in a reel, where like that should be kind of like, in my mind, private, like have some things that are sacred, but that's their choice. So you can see something like that and think that's annoying, or think it's wrong, or think posting your kids in your million following Instagram account is wrong. Like things that I think are wrong that I wouldn't do. I get to choose my response to that. If someone is being an asshole to me, which I have dealt with that obviously in real life, I've dealt with it on Instagram in the comments, or people that don't like some certain things that I've said, I get to choose. I can attack back and just go unconscious along with them, or I can choose a conscious, authentic response. I have practiced this like it's my job for the last several years. It has been my deepest level of awakening to see where things get activated from my past and be able to see it for what it really is. And it's not about saying, okay, when I'm disrespected this way, or spoken to this way, or spoken to in that tone, it triggers something within me because it takes me back to a certain time where I was treated this way. That doesn't mean that you ignore that and say, it's okay if you treat me that way. It's just from my past. It bothers me. I don't like it. It activates something in me, or it ruins our connection. So that's my truth, but I pretend it doesn't and just try to get over it. There is a way to be able to communicate this to a grown adult that can take it and say, hey, this actually isn't about you. I think it is something from my past, but I really am like, this is actually how I'm feeling about this. I don't like it. And you watch how they respond to that. Do they blow up? Do they lose their shit? Do they put the blame back on you that you made them do it? Or what about you too? Or you've done it this way or that way? Or what about what you did 10 years ago? So this is how we start to know who's safe. And this is why doing this consciousness work is so crucial. That is what I do when women come in to work with me, is that we work on the self. When you work on the self and you start really doing this work, it's not easy. I have you do things that are not easy, but it's also not easy to stay stuck in the same patterns, is it? So in order to change these patterns, we have to start changing from within. And so we look at the truth, we see the truth, and we are courageous enough to see the truth and get mentorship and post about what's really going on for us and ask for a new perspective, or some support or accountability. That's why I created the collective, and we are open again right now. I'm not sure how long I'll be keeping it open for or what I'm going to do with the enrollment cycles, but I am creating this space because I want women to have a space they can come to that's discreet, that's safe, that's private, that's offering a deep level of support, where you can actually get your questions answered by me each week. Me personally, at this point, is I'm running it completely at this point. And so it is a way you can get access to my coaching and my methodologies and my processes to really move things forward, not like therapy, not like going to counseling every week, but actually a process that you get to self-pace and implement at your own leisure or as fast as you want. And then you can come and ask questions and connect with the women who are also doing this work. And that's why I've created it, because online is just, it can be triggering in itself. But again, if you see something online, something that triggers you, and usually a way to know that you're triggered is just that you feel hijacked and you feel this need to want to react or comment or retract or distance or put up resistance to things when you're triggered. And so I say, get triggered as much as you want to get triggered. And then you look at, okay, what's there? What's there? Like, what is causing that activation within me? And this is an opportunity for me to awaken a little bit more, to become more aware. Because the truth is that nobody externally can truly make you feel a certain way if you don't allow it. That doesn't mean we put up with nonsense and abuse, not at all. But it is about learning how to no longer allow yourself to be emotionally hijacked by someone else. This is the first biggest thing that women tell me when they take my assessments or when they first come in to work with me, is that that's the first thing they notice. It's this emotional pressure cooker has been relieved. Like, they don't feel that way, and they're able to control their responses to things more and have more emotional self-mastery, even in the face of the same stuff that maybe before they would have blown up or lost their shit or wanted to retreat or eat a bag of cookies or a bottle of wine. Looking at the trigger points and what you do with them is so crucial if you want to live this awakened life. This is a life that you are willing to see. I just say to women that you have to be willing to see. That is living awake. It's being willing to see the truth, being willing to see what's in front of us, being willing to feel what we really feel, being willing to have those courageous conversations and set those boundaries and say, no, I will not sleep in the same bed with you. I'm sleeping in a different room, or I'm getting an apartment for myself, or I'm no longer having sex with you. I am taking space. I am doing this. I'm doing that. I'm getting mentorship. I'm getting coaching. It's taking your own power back. I get women that message me and they are like, they connect with something that I do. And this is very common where they're like, I want to get support from you or this or that, but I got to talk to my partner first. Well, don't do that. Don't do that. That's the first way to take back your power, because what do you think he's going to say? Yeah, you go, girl, you go get that coaching, you get that support to learn that I'm actually a piece of shit that doesn't deserve you. You go, girl. I'll totally support that. No, they're not going to. And so you have to get to a place where you're making decisions. This is what we're all about in the collective, is being self-sourced. That means that if I want to get coaching or mentorship or whatever it is for my personal life, for my health, for my well-being, for my business, for my profession, that I create the way to do that I am not outsourcing that to anyone else, that I am realizing I need this or I want this, and I'm going to figure out how to do it without giving my power away, whatever that is. That is self-sourced in money. We talk about this in the collective, is what does a self-sourced woman do with money? She takes charge of it, even if she has debt, because we don't see debt as this big, huge devil thing that a lot of the financial gurus will talk about. It's sometimes, depending on what you're using it for, is a tool. It can sometimes help you when you're in need. This isn't about going shopping, spending sprees, buying shit you can't actually afford that is like frivolous. This is about what is it that you're actually investing in that is going to pay you back in dividends. You know, even if it's like you're coming into the collective and you're joining right now for $222 a month, that's less than like, you know, about a therapy session, right? That really most women say gets them nowhere. Well, you get to come in, you get access to like 100 hours or more of my content, my classes, my signature processes, my coaching call recordings. You get access to all of that, and weekly access to get your questions answered by me, and connection with another group of women who are doing this work. Where else can you get that, right? And so if you are wanting to have that support and you resonate with my work and you maybe been here for a while and you want to join this community and be part of this, that is what we're doing. It's learning, okay, so how do I approach this through self-sourced power from the self-sourced woman identity? That is what we ask ourselves through everything. Money, health, men, dating, purpose, work, employment, business. We look at all of those things and we say, how do I create this in a way that is not relying on other people around me, that I am taking the reins? That doesn't mean you don't accept help or accept support, but it's coming from a different place. It's coming from a self-sourced place, so that when you are getting support or you are accepting and receiving from a man or otherwise, that it's not coming from desperation. It's not coming from, I want rescuing. I want you to fix me. I want you to save me. It's coming from a co-creation. So the relationship that you are in and all of the relationships before intimately are a co-creation. We have a role to play. But a lot of women mistake this to say that I'm saying you're playing a role in the abuse. No, we are never responsible for how another person chooses to behave. But as I said at the outset, just like with triggers, it's about how you are responding to it. And right now you're responding in the same way that keeps the pattern going. That's why you can't get any traction or get anywhere. You feel like you're having the same fights and the same arguments and the same stuff keeps coming up, because you're not changing your part in it. Even though you've done all the personal growth work, you've done the books, you've done the therapy, that is often not enough. It's a good start, but it's often not enough in the way that deals with the actual root of what's going on, the emotional, psychological root, the addictive patterning that goes on there, and understanding what the real cost is to staying. I'm asking myself this about everything now. What is it costing me to be in this dynamic or that dynamic, or have an argument over here, or doing this thing over here in my business that I don't enjoy, or, working with clients that aren't really ready to evolve? There are so many areas that we live unconsciously that we're not aware of what it's actually costing us. So what I have is, because I get a lot of DMs about this, I created a self-assessment that helps you to know what is the pattern, where are you at, and what's the next steps, depending on where you are. And also a self-assessment on the costs in your relationship, the costs of staying stuck specifically, where you're not actually doing anything different. You're not creating any forward momentum. And as soon as you get into that, you're going to have huge shifts just in that alone. And then I've also included my 3-part quantum clarity series to help you see even deeper into the patterns that's going on and how you can take your power back within the dynamic. And it's free. I'm going to put the link below this episode for you to take it. And so you will go through, there's 2 PDFs. You can print them or just write in your journal to the answers. But it's going to show you where you're at in the relationship based on your level of awakening and where you are in the patterning. Because often women come in with similar things, but they're at a different stage. Like some women are very new to it, or they haven't really done a lot of work on themselves. But most women that come to me have already done all the things, because they're high achieving go-getter women. They're like, let me fix this, let me fix that, let me take charge of that, let me do the emotional labor here, let me make that phone call here, let me try and have this conversation, let me hold the emotional weight of everything and the home and the kids and the everything. And then they're like, why am I so exhausted and none of it's working? Because they're not dealing with the root. You can run circles trying to heal a health condition that you don't even know what's actually going on. So once you know what the condition is, then you can treat the root cause of that condition. But otherwise, you're going to be trying supplements and blood tests and naturopaths and functional this and all these different alternative health treatments where you're just shooting in the dark because you don't actually know that it's an autoimmune or it's something else. So this is what we're doing when we're looking at, I want to know what's the pattern and does it fall into the category that I treat with women? Because if it's just normal run-of-the-mill relationship conflict, I feel like that's like really easy to figure out and you're not dealing with the same dynamics. And so maybe therapy would be okay for someone like that. But what I did in this assessment is to show you exactly, are you in this category that you qualify for what I work with women in? It's very specific to those narcissistic dynamics, the gaslighting, the confusion, the ongoing cycles where nothing is ever resolved, no matter how long you talk about it and you're drained and you think he's got it, but he doesn't. And then maybe it gets good for a few months where it seems like everything's fine. And then you're right back doing it again, the same argument, the same conflicts. That's what I'm talking about. Because when you're dealing with someone who potentially has like a personality disorder or an abusive personality, it goes in cycles. Like it doesn't change. That's the thing about it. It does not change. There's no room for growth really. And sometimes they will stop a certain behavior, but then pick up another. So you might be thinking, oh, he's not yelling and screaming and throwing shit, but he's over here doing this maneuver, manipulation, covert, passive aggressive, or whatever it might be. Or they can, when you start to set enough boundaries and you are really fighting back, they can just go off and cheat and, have chats with someone else because they're not getting their needs met by your reaction and your attention. So my goal is to help women become so whole and stable within themselves that they know that they're going to make it through anything, no matter what. With a man, without a man, doesn't matter. They're always going to have their own back. And this is true when you come out of a relationship. There's many women, they want to get into dating right after. And a lot of online gurus shame that. Well, I don't believe that. I think there's a way to do it from consciousness and to do it right and to do it having your own back and making sure that your kids aren't involved. Those are my rules. Don't bring kids into a blended situation. Just don't do it with a new man. Figure out how you can do it separately. This is what I help women with in my private coaching if this is where you're at. But don't go into that with kids. That is like the one thing I would say to any woman, don't do it. Have your own money, have your own nest egg, have your own way out. If you decide to cohabitate without kids, have a way out. So you're never stuck again. Never give your power away to a man, especially with finances. But also don't go accepting a man that can't provide any financial stability for you. Don't bother. You don't want to be dealing with all of that and move in with someone just because it's comfortable, right? You want to have someone that can actually elevate your life in some way because you know what good you bring into a relationship. So we started off with triggers. That's really important. I want you to understand that because it's important within your relationship now, and it's going to be important if you leave and go into dating on the other side. It's also to develop that skill, that mastery of your emotional reactions, to be able to see, oh, this is actually my shit. Even though he did this, that, and the other, I get to choose how I respond to that. In any moment, I get to choose. It does not matter what it is. I'm responsible for me. That is being in self-integrity. I want to feel good how I respond even to assholes. I want to feel like I'm not worse than them in my response. That doesn't always mean you have to be nice to someone who's being an asshole to you. That doesn't mean that at all. And you have assertiveness, but you don't need to be blowing up and losing your shit and making things worse, because you know that never works. And if there's kids around, then they see it and it just makes it worse. We don't want to be doing that. It raises our cortisol. It ages us. It puts stress on our hearts and our cardiovascular system. It causes adrenal and hormone issues when we are constantly just reacting to everything unconsciously. So the goal is to bring consciousness to our responses. And this is what we do inside the collective. You're going to come in and learn all about this through my process that you get access to when you are in a place of, should I stay in this and keep going? He's saying he wants to work on it. Should we work on it together? My answer is no. You first work on your end of it. And then in my process that you will get access to when you join, you will then get a phase where you can bring him into it, but it's dependent on how he's responding to your changes. And it's highly effective. It's a process. It's not just throwing shit at the wall anymore and just ruminating about it and processing it. It's you now taking back your power, you bringing back the energy to you. You're changing your part in the dance. He's witnessing it. How does he react to these things that you're doing now? This new way of being, this new self-source power that you're exhibiting, this new calmness, this way you're not reacting anymore, and see how he reacts to it. And then there is a phase where I teach women what to do from there if they want to invite him into the process. There's a very specific strategy to this. And most women, once they get to that place, if they decide to loop them in, they're like, yeah, no, this gave me the clarity I needed. I built myself up to that place. And that one last shot that I keep saying, I want that one last shot. I want to know for sure that he is not capable of change, because for whatever reason, we want to know this for sure, even after decades of seeing it's not possible. We want to have that last ditch. Like, I just want to know for sure so I can leave without the guilt and without the chaos. And that's what I teach women how to do, is to do this without blowing up their lives, to do it with strategy, to do it with calm, do it behind the scenes, doing it very much like a business plan. We need to take the emotion out of it. Now, this isn't about not feeling, because I teach women exactly how to feel, but there are places in our lives that we don't want to bring our emotion into. And this is one of them. So I teach women how to be more in their logic when it comes to this scenario. So if this is the type of support you would like and you want access to my system I have created 6 years ago, I've only built on it, made it better, and have seen women's lives radically transformed within like days or weeks, depending on how quickly they go through the process. It's really self-paced, and the quicker you go through it and implement it, the quicker the shift, but everybody's busy. Everybody's got their own time restraints. So it just really depends. Although most of my high achieving women, they've burned through it and they've done it all. So, you come in and you do what you're able to do, but it's just doing the work, right? You got to come in and do the work. So as long as you're ready for that and you're ready for an actual process, you're done with random books, random podcasts, another therapist, going and trying to work it out with him in a therapist's office is not going to work, especially if you take that assessment and you recognize yourself in those patterns. Do not do therapy. Get yourself into the collective. All right. Bye for now.